So in order to get to Bitcoin, the last piece of my thesis that's important is one of my goals or one of my kind of like ideas for the summit is, okay, if the old grid is so broken, leave it, defect, and build a new grid in the style of Buckminster Fuller. Instead of trying to change things that are broken, just build something new that makes the old obsolete. Like why waste all of our time, like with all these frustrating, just impossibly opaque rules and all this stuff. Like, let's just go build new.
Yeah.
And so there's obviously many impediments to doing that. But my sort of vision for this is, can we build eventually a terawatt scale, many of them, grid, off grid, solar plus storage, and maybe you need some nat gas, and there's ways to do that, fine. Sites where you don't need the interconnection. I would love to get the interconnection. And eventually my view is we connect all of these sites together and eventually subsume the old grid, and the old grid joins us in this new free market. Now, to your question on Bitcoin, in order for
that's how media has worked, by the way, right? With the internet.
That's how everything works. I don't think this is a controversial opinion at all. It's like, that's how payment networks work. What's the old story of like, we started doing the internet over phone lines, right? Beep, boop, 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 boop.
Yep.
And then
modems.
And then we got to whatever we're using now. And anyways, fiber.
But meaning like when Twitter launched day one, it was like you're talking about sandwiches that you're eating for lunch. The New York Times does not want to be there.
Right.
But it's like a new way to broadcast, communicate.
Yeah.
And then over time, the New York Times says, actually, we better join Twitter and have an account.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of that same pattern seems to play out again and again.
So,
and the internet did it to media, but you're talking about how it probably gets done in the grid and energy
electricity. Yeah. So to your questions, I'll take them one by one. Has my views changed on what's going to be I forgot what you call it, but like the species the lichen?
Well, the paper that we wrote 4.5 years ago, do you still hold that view?
Yeah, I do. But I think one thing I've changed my mind on is I don't think, at least in the short run, Bitcoin is going to be the biggest early adopting species. Thank you. I think it's going to be AI. I think Bitcoin will play a role in this.
No, maybe. I mean, to create the most economical way to build out a new energy system is your current thesis solar plus battery or solar plus battery plus Bitcoin? Because the paper 4.5 years ago was all three.
I think it is short term. I think this is changing still in real time. I don't think we're still at the point where solar plus Bitcoin plus battery fully pencils with the data center yet. But I do know one company where the founder will be speaking. And it's not Satoshi, it's another one. Probably giving away too much information. Anyways,
I'm not going to say, but it's one of these two.
I know, exactly.
Okay, it's not that one.
Tells me that that's going to happen in the next year.
What's going to happen next year?
That there will be examples of totally off grid solar plus storage plus completely depreciated S19 style, like old ASIC miners. And that gets into a very interesting question, because in order for that to work, you either have to be okay running it less than 24/7 if you have the new generation miners, because those are expensive, or you have to buy ones where the capex is effectively zero or super low because you've already depreciated them.
Right.
So I think that's going to happen first. I do expect that to start happening the next year or two. He might be a little overly bullish, maybe not, but I think that one thing I've changed my view on is, in the early days, I thought Bitcoin would be, that's the thing we go and we build new societies and civilizations around Bitcoin mining. Maybe. But I do feel much more confident that first lichen species, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be AI data centers. So my view now is it's going to be, these multi-gigawatt data centers as your first off-taker. And then over time, it's going to grow out. And I actually think, Balaji's idea of the network state, maybe this is how the network state actually evolves, is like you build a giant ass data center in Abilene. Okay. And now you have all this electricity. And because if you're doing, another advantage of doing solar and storage is it's modular. If you do nuclear, you design it for years, and that's, it's a 1 gigawatt plant. That's what you get. Solar, you can just keep expanding. Solar and storage, and so you go from a gigawatt to 10 gigawatts to 100 gigawatts to a terawatt. And I think that basically we're going to see like new cities pop up around these data centers, and Bitcoin will definitely eventually be part of that. And as it keeps getting cheaper and cheaper, the miners and the price of Bitcoin keeps going up, it'll probably play more of a role. Where I see Bitcoin playing a massive role in this vision.
Are you all right?
Make sure I got that out. Yes, please, DK. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's good. Thank you. Is I think it's going to be the Bitcoin network more and more. I think the miners are certainly going to play a role, but I think that if you listen to this kind of crazy vision I'm talking about, if we build completely new grids, you need a way to do effectively supra-state settlement. And effectively the way to meter electricity in real time. And so increasingly, I am extremely bullish on this future where you're in real time doing electrons for Bitcoin. And you can literally just meter that in real time. You know, so much of the failures of our grid, it's the same. Why do we have failures in banking? Why do we have failures in universities? Why do we have failures in home building? Why do we have failures in healthcare? Once you have a monopoly, innovation stops. You can't use the holy nature of prices, which is to bring in all these disparate pieces of information into one piece of information. Like prices are magic. And this is why I effectively think Hayek was right. And by the way, in order to do this, you're going to need a sly roundabout way to build a new grid, just like you did to take money away from the monopoly there. And it's going to be much harder because we have to deal with atoms, not just bits. But what's missing is, you know, not only the infrastructure, but once you have new infrastructure and you can actually kind of build new rules. And again, I don't think the people like managing these are like evil or anything. I think it's just like they have rules from like 1910. And like, turns out now we have the internet. Turns out now solar is really cheap. Turns out you have batteries now, which can arb in real time. And batteries, you know, I'm increasingly thinking of as the high frequency traders of this whole world. So batteries, I'm more and more bullish on. Like I would love to like back more battery companies that are building battery fleets. That's very valuable. But
we should get battery people at the Type 1 Summit as well.
Yeah, we should 100% get the best battery people. Michael Dell's kid is doing something fascinating. Genius. He's basically kind of doing what we used to do for solar when I was in Resi Solar, where we would kind of finance the solar panels for you. You pay nothing up front or reduced up front, and then we take a cut of the savings. He's doing that for batteries and oversizing batteries in Texas, which allows them to basically build a giant sort of a virtual power plant or more of like a virtual battery where they can then interact with Texas's best free market. But even Texas's market is not nearly as good as it could be if you had real-time pricing for everyone. And so anyways, what's
the name of that company, by the way? Remember?
I don't remember.
Okay, we'll look it up.
Yeah, I'm super long. We should definitely get them there. Super long. And I think Valor and Founders Fund and some others, I guess that's going to be a good one.
Cool.
Anyways, so what I see Bitcoin doing is enabling real-time markets. And I actually even see a world for the Nostr community, like, you know, there's so many problems, by the way, there's all these national security risks with the grid. Like that's going to get hacked. That's going to be crazy when grids start getting hacked. Maybe the Spain thing already was. And so with Nostr now, you could do something, and, you know, I'm not saying it's definitely gonna be Nostr, but, you know, Ben from Ellen Bits has been doing all this really cool. He's always doing the hardware tinkering. And like, he's already getting this like idea of you could have every device have a Nostr identity. And that's really cool because now you can imagine every load asset, every generation asset, every storage asset has a private key, and that's its identity. And it can then send messages back and forth to each other. And you can really, with Bitcoin, Lightning, whatever ends up working with Lightning and Nostr, the dream is to build a free market for electricity and internet of electricity. That's where I think Bitcoin's gonna play the biggest role.
Cool.